Hello friends, let us now learn some important points about aortic regurgitation for TPG. Aortic regurgitation occurs by two mechanisms. So what are the two mechanisms? These include valvular deformities, second deformities of the aortic root. Deformities of aortic root. If you see the causes of aortic regurgitation, these are primary valve disease. These can occur due to primary valve disease. Secondary, it is due to primary aortic root disease. So if you see primary valve disease, it includes rheumatic heart disease. Primary valve disease include rheumatic heart disease. Infective endocarditis will cause aortic regurgitation. Then it is due to congenital bicuspid aortic valve, and it occurs due to congenital membranous subaortic stenosis. So these are the causes of primary valve disease. Then if you see primary root disease, these include Marfan syndrome, osteogenesis imperfecta, severe hypertension, ankylosing spondylitis, and syphilis. So these are the causes of primary root syndrome. So next, what are the now in the aortic regurgitation, there are many signs and many things. Okay, so first, this is the heart. Okay, there is aortic. This is right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Here there is aortic valve. So here, because of the aortic regurgitation, there is backflow of blood from the aorta to the left ventricle. First and foremost, there will be backflow leak from aorta to the left ventricle occurs. This occurs during diastole. Okay. Then, because of this, there will be increase in left ventricular size. Okay, to accommodate the extra blood flowing. And because of this backflow, you will see presence of regurgitant diastolic murmur, because there is regurgitation and there is diastolic murmur. So this results in regurgitant diastolic murmur. And because of this backflow, the forward flow will be impaired. Because of this impaired forward flow is actually impaired, or there is decrease. Okay, because there is decreased forward flow, this decreased forward flow is compensated by increased ejection during systole. It is compensated by increased ejection during systole, and there is also peripheral vasodilatation. By peripheral vasodilatation and increased compensation during systole, with both these, the forward flow which is decreased is compensated. So because of that, sometimes you will see ejection systolic murmur can occur sometimes. Okay, then this compensated, because of this impaired forward flow and increased ejection during systole, this will result in increased systolic blood pressure. Okay, because of increased ejection during systole, there is increased systolic blood pressure. Because of peripheral vasodilatation, there is decreased diastolic blood pressure. So increased systolic blood pressure and increased diastolic blood pressure will result in wide pulse pressure. Okay, next this causes wide pulse pressure. This wide pulse pressure will result in some visible arterial pulsations. Okay, so these visible arterial pulsations are results in various signs. One, we have Corrigan's sign. Corrigan's sign This includes prominent carotid pulsations. In Corrigan sign, you will see prominent carotid pulsations. Then you have dancing carotids. Dancing peripheral arteries are present. Dancing peripheral arteries. Okay, peripheral arteries, which is nothing but you will see visible arterial pulsations are seen over the extremities. Okay, then you will also see presence of water hammer pulse. Then you will see presence of one more sign which is called as D Messet sign. What is D Messet sign? Here the patient will nod the head. This is nodding of head with each systole. With each systole, because of the wide arterial pressure, the patient will nod the head. Then there is one more sign which is called as Hill's sign. What is Hill's sign? In this there is increased systolic blood pressure between increased systolic difference in systolic blood pressure between femoral and brachial artery. Okay, so this is about the Hill's sign. So these are the some important signs. And now if you see, we have some more signs which are important due to wide pulse pressure, which I will write here. One, we have visible capillary pulsations. Visible capillary pulsations are called as Quincke's sign. Visible capillary pulsations is called as Quincke's sign. It is seen at the nail beds or lips. If you apply a light pressure, so what is this sign is? On applying light pressure on the tip of the fingers and the nails. If you apply light pressure on tip of the fingers or nails, this will result in alternate flushing and pallor in the nail beds. This is Quincke's sign. Okay, in this sign, if there is then what? This is first sign. Then what is the second sign? You will see presence of prominent digital artery pulsations. If you hold the flexed fingers of the hand with your fingers in flexed position, you will see prominent digital artery pulsations. Then the next sign is we have locomotor brachialis. What is locomotor brachialis? So in this, if you look from medial side, of lower arm with a semi-flexed elbow, if you look from medial side of lower arm with a semi-flexed elbow, you will see tortuous, you will see medial side of lower arm. Look from medial side of lower arm with semi-flexed elbow. Then you will see tortuous, highly pulsatile. You will see highly pulsatile brachial artery. This is also most commonly found in old age. Why? It can also occur due to atherosclerosis. So it is also found in old age. Okay, this is locomotor brachialis. Then if you see fourth, BP. In the BP, you will obviously see wide pulse pressure is seen, which is more than 60 millimeters of Hg. And fifth, you will have dancing carotids. As I have already said, the dancing carotids in the neck. What are these dancing carotids in the neck called as? These are called as Corrigan's sign. Okay, then we have the next sign, which is De Musset's sign. What is De Musset's sign? Here you will see to and fro nodding of the head, which is synchronous with carotid pulsations. Okay. Then the next sign which is important is 7. You will also see presence of visible pulsations in jugular notch or suprasternal notch. Then the next sign is 8. You will see changes in pupil sign. There is changes in pupil size is seen with each cardiac systole. With each cardiac systole, there can occur change in pupil size, which is called as Landolph's sign. Then we have 9th. The patient can have alternate flushing and blanching of forehead. This alternate flushing and blanching of forehead is called as lighthouse sign. Okay, then the patient can also have pulsations of retinal artery. This pulsations of retinal artery is called as Becker's sign. Then there can be 11th pulsations in uvula, pulsations in uvula, which is called as Muller sign. Okay, pulsations in liver, we call it as Rosenbach's sign. Then pulsations in spleen, we call it as Gerhardt sign. Pulsations in spleen, Gerhardt sign. Then pistal 12th, we have pistal short sound. Pistal short sound or Trueb sign. What is this pistal short or Trueb sign? You will see presence of booming sound. Booming sound is produced after pressing the stethoscope over femoral artery. Pressing the stethoscope over femoral artery, you will hear the booming sound, which is called as pistal hot sign. Pistal short sound. Okay, if you auscultate the femoral artery, you will see a booming sound, which is called as pistal short sound. Then 13 we have, you can also hear the systolic murmur on compression of femoral artery proximally. On compression of femoral artery proximally, you will hear the systolic murmur is heard. Then 14th, we have Duroze's sign. What is this Duroze's murmur? Duroze's murmur is the diastolic murmur. If you compress the femoral artery proximally, you will see systolic murmur. You will hear systolic murmur, whereas diastolic murmur is heard on compression of the same femoral artery, but here you are compressing the femoral artery distally. On compressing the femoral artery distally, diastolic murmur is heard, and on compressing the systolic murmur proximally, you hear systolic murmur. Both these together we call it as Duroze's sign. Then the next sign. Then we have Hill's sign. What is this Hill's sign? Hill's sign is increase in femoral artery systolic BP to more than 20 millimeters of Hg above the brachial artery systolic BP. This is called as Hill's sign. Normally, the difference between upper limb and lower limb is less than 20 millimeters of Hg. If it is more than 20 millimeters of Hg, we call it as Hill's sign. And if you see in severe aortic regurgitation, this increase in BP will be more than 60 millimeters of Hg. So this sign is very important and specific sign. Then the next sign, 16th, is we have main sign. What is main sign? More than 15 millimeters of Hg, decrease in diastolic blood pressure, which you see with arm elevation from the value obtained with arm in standard position. On stand elevation, arm elevation, you will see the increase in more than 15 millimeters of Hg. Let me see, did I miss something? Twinkie sign, we have done corrugative dancing. All are done. So these are the signs of aortic regurgitation. So we have said in aortic regurgitation you will see wide pulse pressure. So what are the causes of wide pulse pressure? What is wide pulse pressure? Which is more than 60 millimeters of Hg. Okay, it is seen in, we have aortic regurgitation, mitral regurgitation, patent ductus arteriosus, ventricular septal defect, AV block, AV fistula you will see, and complete heart block. So these are the pathological conditions which causes wide pulse pressure, and if you see, it also occurs in physiological conditions like anxiety and anemia. Obviously it is pathological, fever, pregnancy and exercise. So these are the important points about aortic regurgitation. Thank you for watching.